People don't understand sometimes when they're working on computers how much they're leaning their head forward and the tension this is causing in the upper back, shoulders, and neck. Right now, Tarveen, with her shoulders back here, if you take a look at her ear is generally coming in the middle of her shoulder. This is a good position to be in. It's not causing a lot of stress. Commonly when patients come into the clinic, what we'll see is that their head will be slightly forward, rounded shoulders, and they're going, why have I got all this tension in here? And I say, well, stand up straight. And if we take a look at their shoulders, quite often we'll see the ear lines up directly in front instead of the middle of the shoulder. Obviously, as soon as the head starts to tilt forward, we start getting a lot of tension back here. As soon as that happens, every time the person is sitting at a desk, they start to develop a stress syndrome. The tension starts to build up in the shoulders over a period of time. The shoulders start to come forward. And the muscles right at the front here, the pectoralis muscles, get short and contracted. So one of the first things that we do is we have to look at the person and say, what kind of posture do you have?
Before we can even begin examining the specific soft tissue structures, it's very important for us to properly examine the patient. So that usually begins with a thorough consultation where we sit down with the patient and we find out exactly what's going on, where the problem is, how long it's been going on with, what aggravates it, what makes the pain go away. And then what we'll do is we'll inspect the area that is affected. We will palpate it. We'll do orthopedic and neurological tests to rule out other complicating conditions. And then we will get in there and we will examine the patient. If we're dealing with a case where there has been direct trauma, such as a motor vehicle accident, or we suspect something like whiplash, where they've had like a recent slip, trip, or fall, in those situations, before we even begin treating the patient, we will refer them out for x-rays to rule out fractures and other such complicating factors.
To really determine where restrictions are, we need to get in and palpate the area. A practitioner who really understands soft tissue is going to develop a high sense of tactile sensitivity. You need to get in and feel if the tissue is soft, pliable, or whether it's ropey, rough, or there's a restriction. Another great way is to have the patient go through ranges of motion. Not only do you want to feel for changes in consistency of the tissue, but you want to see whether one layer of tissue is actually gliding over top of the other. For example, I'm going to get Tarveen to bring her arm back here, and she's going to slowly reach forward. I'm going to get up on the trapezius here and another muscle called levator scapula. And as she reaches forward here, I'm feeling whether one layer of tissue is actually translating over top of the other, or whether there's a restriction, which direction it's pulling me into. I'm going to have her repeat this several times, and as I work through the tissue, I'm actually breaking up any restrictions. Now I'm on the shoulder here, and the person came in with neck pain. So obviously I understand the anatomy that a lot of the structures down here actually attach to the base of the occiput up here. We have to consider the whole kinetic chain, not just the area of chief complaint. A common problem with people treating soft tissue injuries or areas of restriction, by soft tissue I'm referring to muscles, ligaments, tendons, or fascia, they'll go, oh, this is where it hurts, this is where I'm going to treat. No, you have to consider the entire kinetic chain. After we've freed up any restrictions in the shoulders, I'm going to move on to the neck itself. Slowly working my way up, feeling for any changes in consistency of tissue, and again, going through range of motion, breaking up any restriction that I find in the area. After I finish freeing up any restrictions in the neck, I'm always going to take a look at the jaw. I'm going to take a look to see if we have any deviation. Let's get Tarveen to open and close her mouth here. Close. And work my way around the jaw. Master muscles here, temporalis. Go in underneath the jaw. Let's get Tarveen to jet her jaw out. Area called the digastric. And even on the inside of the cheek sometimes we'll get in there and we'll get in and we'll free up a muscle called the medial pterygoid. The point being, if a person has neck pain, it could be coming from the shoulders, it could be coming from the jaw, any point along the entire neck itself. You don't just want to go to one area. You need to take a look at the entire restriction. We talked about postural distortions and how the person's shoulders would start to roll forward. We'd also need to get on the front of the shoulder and basically open up the area and free up any restrictions we may find in the pectoralis muscle, so we can bring the shoulders back to this neutral position and take stress off the area.
Once we've effectively treated this area, we will always send the patients home with specific exercises that pertain to strengthening the muscles, ligaments, tendons within the neck and upper shoulder area. As we mentioned before, one of the first things we analyze in a patient is their posture. So one of the first exercises we give to them are postural exercises. Now, all too often, our vast majority of the population tends to slouch when they sit, when they stand, and that, as you know, can create a lot of muscular problems. So instead of telling our patients to go home and sit up straight and nice and tall all the time, I always encourage my patients to stop themselves maybe once or twice an hour and check in with themselves and pretend like their head is being pulled up from the ceiling with a string. And as they realign their head and bring their shoulders back, they will become more comfortable with assuming what is called the neutral spine position. Now, if you tell somebody to do that all the time, realistically, they're just not going to do it. So we don't do that. We tell them to start by checking in with themselves once or twice an hour. And as they do that more and more, their body gets used to the neutral spine position, and over time, they correct their posture on their own. All too often, you'll hear healthcare practitioners or personal trainers or people in the fitness and exercise industry talk about neutral spine position. So what is that exactly? Well, basically what neutral spine is when you stand next to the wall with your back and your neck flat against the wall. If you put your hand behind your back here, the curve that you feel in your low back, that basically is neutral spine position. So when you take a step forward, you should maintain that position to attain neutral spine positioning. A very good postural exercise that we often prescribe to our patients is called scapular activation. And that's basically activating these big flat bones here, which I often refer to as the wings on your back, and making them come back. You do that by reaching back with your other hand and finding the bottom or inferior aspect of your scapula. You'll notice that before you do this exercise, there's a little pointy part that sticks out. What you're going to do is you're going to take your shoulder, you're going to bring it up and back and down, almost like you're putting your shoulder in your back pocket. You're going to hold it in that position for 10 seconds and then relax. Again, you reach back with the opposite hand, you find that pointy part that sticks out, you keep your hand there, you bring your shoulder up, over, back, and down. And you'll notice that this part where your finger is touching flattens out. That basically is the activation component of scapular activator. Hold this position and then you relax. For other neck-related exercises and stretches, please refer to our neck stretches and exercise video on YouTube and the TMJ exercises video. We also have a webcast on shoulder-related problems. So if you would like more information, please visit our website at www.drabelson, that's ABELSON.com. If you live in and around the Calgary, Alberta area, please visit us at Kinetic Health, and Dr. Abelson and I would love to treat you. Thank you for joining us for our webcast today.